Hello and welcome, my friends. This is Jennifer from Mystic Star. I want to welcome you to another Tarot 101 session. Today, we're going to look at that Major Arcana. We've kind of gone through a lot of the Minor Arcana. And yes, I know we still have some tales to weave in as we're still exploring those amazing royal cards. However, I wanted to start to touch in on the Major Arcana. We need them and some knowledge of them to, get that reading full and meaningful. Now, unlike the Minor Arcana, there are only 21 Major Arcana cards. Now, the difference between the Major and the Minor is that the Minor is everyday aspects, well, as the Major Arcana, you guessed it, they're the bigger energies, those bigger pieces. Many of us struggle with one or two or many of the Major Arcanas due to life experiences, in this lifetime or past. In this video, I want to quickly touch base on each of the 21 Major Arcana. We don't have the time or attention span to go through them all in depth in one sitting. It's just way too much information. However, a nice gentle overview, helping you to get more acquainted with this card, will help you be able to connect with it and understand why it comes up in your readings, why you draw it in your daily draws, why it jumps out when you're shuffling your deck. So, in this session, like always, it's going to be a quick overview. Let's get into this quick overview. And of course, here we have that iconic Fool. He is the 0 card. He doesn't belong anywhere, yet he belongs everywhere. We have the, of course, iconic yellow background. Color is important. Even though Pamela Colman Smith had limited resources back in 1909, 1910, and the colors were a little bit more muted because of the press and how the cards were created, color still is important. We have that vibrant, bright, that zest and excitement. This is a very enthusiastic card. As you can tell, he does not have a care in the world. He has support that is, trying to warn him, hey, buddy, cliff, don't know, you can't fly. So we have that support. Now, I love how in 1910 we have that very, manly, tight with the slouchy boots and that beautiful man bag. Even though he is the height and the epitome of fashion, he has packed everything he needs in that little bag. He knows he's got all the tools he will ever need for any situation that he should come across. And that is the essence of the Fool. We have that carefree trust in the universe. We've got that knowledge that we've got everything packed that we need, and we have the help should we pay attention to it. Again, that's a personal choice. However, it's our choice, that right of free will. So the Fool, you'll come across, we still have that very energetic, that enthusiastic energy. And of course, because we have a 0, there's no ending, no beginning. He does talk a lot about that new excitement, that adventure that is ongoing with new emerging aspects. So we have the 0. Of course, what's next? He's probably one of the most iconic cards, the Magician. You see him a lot in pop culture. He's graced many movies. That and the Death card, which we'll get to. The Magician, of course, is the first card in the Major Arcana, that new beginning. Wands always talk about new beginning. Talks about using our amazing abilities, combining it, of course, with the everyday aspects, because on his table he has the wand, the cup, the pentacle, and the sword. So he has those everyday aspects right at hand, and he uses them whenever he needs. He's also a lightning rod, if you will. He's got his wand up high, and he almost has that posturing of the Benedict blessing going on, where he's pointing that energy downwards. He's drawing down that universal energy, which is helping to bring that abundance, that prosperity forward. He's creating what he needs. Very much a masculine energy, and has at times depicted that divine masculine energy. Especially when you're looking at something like mana or that divine energy that's going to support you. And his counter, of course, so beautiful, the High Priestess. The High Priestess, of course, that feminine aspect of the energy. We've got, of course, that divine feminine in the moon energy, that lunar energy. And, of course, she is the keeper of Torah, that universal knowledge. Whereas the magician is more on that earthly basis, we have the High Priestess, which of course would be in that higher vibrational spiritual realm. She's got the black and white pillar, of course indicating the light and dark within, the shadows and lights of life. There's a lot of memes, of course, as there's memes for everything. Why would there's a B and a J in the High Priestess pillars? These are actually two of the pillars of Jerusalem. The B is for Boza, which is a passive and mysterious energy. And the J here is for Jachin, I think it's Jachin. I'm probably saying these wrong, but you get the point. Which is about action and consciousness. This is an important aspect. Pamela Coleman Smith didn't do things just to do them. There was connection. And she wanted to reach out. Well, there's a lot of uncertainty whether it was consciously or unconsciously to the viewer in many different denominations. These pillars also can stand for the pillars of Isis, as that's another name that the High Priestess has. So she's got a lot of action, and there's a lot packed in to this little card. That's why I'm just kind of briefly going over them. I'm going to pick on some of the major kind of unknowns and why is it B and J, those type of things as we go forward. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on the cards because we'll be here forever. Because these cards, they're major aspects, which means there's a lot there. They're the archetype of major energies that we deal with throughout our lifetime. So, of course, when you get these two cards together, you have that yin and yang energy of the divine. And here's another, I believe it's yin energy. Of course, we have the Empress, the third card in the Major Arcana. She is something else. She's got that symbol of Venus, that love symbol, and this is a shield. Should she be pushed, she could take up arms and, well, join her counterpart or her consort, the Emperor, the fourth card in the Major Arcana, in battle, should she choose. That feminine energy does not mean she's weak, does not mean she is passive. It's just a different type of energy that's going to support you. Of course, we have that fertility, that growth, that Mother Earth energy of the Empress. Now, we still have the stability in the Emperor. He sits on his very concrete stone throne, knowing he has all the knowledge he's ever going to need. He can support and provide for his family no matter what. Of course, we've got that stickler to the rules because he is the Emperor. They're his rules. That very masculine or yang energy is coursing throughout the Emperor. Again, another duality or connection that we have with these cards. You are going to see that as you start to work with the Major Arcana, how intertwined and interrelated they are. So, the Empress and the Emperor, very earthy energies. Sure, you have that earthiness in the Magician, but it is more that emotional or spiritual energy rather than the physical. Now we're going to keep the Emperor because he has a friend as well. The Hierophant. Many of us struggle with the Hierophant as he has those Pope robes. The spiritual abuse that Christianity and Catholicism have, unleashed on humanity is grotesque. In 1910, we still had a lot of that persecution. However, Pamela Coleman Smith used that to her advantage as well, because there was power in the church. This is a very powerful card, just like the Emperor, where the Emperor is more that societal, familial energy. This is that societal community energy. Even though Catholic and Christian bases had spiritual abuse and were very aggressive, they were also very supportive, helping out with the poor, helping to make sure people got fed. So that community base. So this is our social realm, if you will. They do work together and they are at odds with each other. However, they are bound together. Hence, we have the 4 and the 5. Now, of course, and I've said this before, in tarot, 5s are always about conflict. That is why the Hierophant is the 5th card. We have conflict with it. Now, beyond that societal kind of group community energy, we do have that connection to the spiritual realm. He is the keeper of keys. This too is a gatekeeper, and we'll have many of them. The first one we saw, of course, was the High Priestess. Are they related? Absolutely. How come? That connection to the high vibrational energy, that wisdom. Behind this curtain, there is a lot of insight and knowledge. It's really hard to tell, but there's a body of water with land behind it. Well, there's a lot of insight in this card. He too will connect you to that information, however, in different ways. That connection, it's important. Just like any religious symbol or icon, they had things to teach you. This can also mean a teacher card. Not that you need to have a teacher that is connected in with the Catholic or Christian church, but that teacher that's going to support you and guide you through these pillars to help you with that connection and that insight, unlocking those opportunities, those doors of possibility. And a card that most people have seen, love to see, the Lovers, that connection, that commitment. Of course, we've got that duality, that balance, and that high vibrational energy. Pamela Coleman Smith drew here Archangel Raphael. Like all archangels, Archangel Raphael is a messenger. He's also a healer, talking about that ongoing connection, that healing, that growth that we have in a relationship. Of course, we've got that gender balance again. And I know many people struggle with the Lovers because love is genderless. Where here we have that feminine and masculine depicting the Lovers. Let's challenge that a bit. Yes, love comes in many forms. However, no matter what gender you identify with, you have both that feminine and masculine within you. And thus, the card is timeless. Sometimes we have to look beyond that physical constraint and really use our critical thinking. Pixie was a very sassy woman. And this gender stereotype, sure, it had to be put in because Arthur Waite was very, well, I don't want to say strict, but very emperorish, if we will, about this. However, if you take the energy of Pixie or Pamela Coleman Smith, you'll kind of see what I mean here when I'm saying we need to step outside that very gender stereotype energy and go with the energies that are within us. So after the Lovers, of course, we're on to the 7th card, the Chariot. Now, the Chariot is, we're going to go back all the way to 1, connected to this bad boy. Has a similar wand and is using his willpower to drive his steeds, these Sphinx that, of course, are perfectly balanced, just like the High Priestess. We have cards that intertwine. These are all talking about that higher vibrational energy that we're holding within us. He is connected to that high vibration. He's got the stars. He's also got the zodiac in his very fashionable waist skirt thing. I don't know what it's called. It's part of his armor. Armor's not my thing. So he's got all sorts of symbols within him. He's connected to both these, using again that balanced energy to push you forward. He has conquered his last challenge, his last kingdom, and he's moving forward in a concrete chariot with no reins. I know it seems weird and impossible, but yet you'll find that the Chariot is an action card that will support you in moving forward. And of course, Strength, our beautiful maiden. There is no way a human, let alone a woman, has the physical strength to close the jaws of a lion. She is subduing it, using her natural abilities to, well, tame that inner beast, which can also mean taming your ego. Because again, that beast of burden is with us. Now, interestingly, we're going to connect her to another card. We have that similar, very yellow, very bright, knowledge-based card with connection to the high vibrational energy, which is depicted through the infinity symbol. They're the only two cards in the Major Arcana that have it. And none of the Minor Arcana have it either. That infinity symbol, that connection, is theirs alone. Now, of course, because this is the first card, and this is the 8th card, she kicks it up a notch. She has a hidden infinity symbol, this flowery garland that's around her waist, and it's hard to see, but you can kind of see it here, is around the lion's neck as well. Talking about a hidden power, a hidden connection. She one-ups the magician because she's that divine feminine energy. Now, there is another connection. Justice. Now, a lot of people were unsure of why, and I can help you with why. Arthur Waite flipped these two cards. So there are times in different decks you will find that Justice is the 8th card and Strength is the 11th card. To me, it doesn't flow as well. I understand why Arthur would do this. It's about that energy. I'm not going to get into it here because, again, we're going to be overwhelmed by this information. There is something called the Fool's Journey, where you take the first 7 cards, which starts on 1 and ends on the Chariot, and that's the first row. The second row, starting off with the Strength. Now, the connection between the Magician and the Strength card is very clear. There is no connection between these two, other than they both have that, well, connection, if you will, to the high vibrational energy. So it does flow a little bit better in the Fool's Journey. We'll get back to Justice. But Strength, for me, is always the 8th card. 8s talk about that movement, that manifestation. And when you connect into your natural abilities, that hidden talent, and that universal energy, you're a lot more able to move forward. You're using your skills and you to your advantage to get that job done. The Hermit, of course, the 9th card in the Major Arcana. He's pretty iconic. We're looking at that inner journey. He's lighting the way. He's on the top of a snowy peak. And in many cards, including Strength, we have this kind of hidden snowy peak. And if we go back to the Fool, you can see those peaks. He's at the top of his game. He's at the top of these peaks. He's able to shepherd you to where it is that's going to be more meaningful, where it is you're supposed to be. Now, in his little lantern here, he has a 6-sided star. There's 2 points on each side and one on the top, one on the bottom. That is the, of course, seal of Solomon, which indicates wisdom. Can also be called the Star of David, which is the light of God, or light of unconsciousness, that light of the unknown, helping you to find your way to the known. His role is really well known because we are looking at that time for self, that understanding, and that movement forward. And I touch base on this, Justice. Now, Justice is supposed to look kind of ambivalent in the sexual orientation. We are looking at kind of a masculine energy, but is missing the Adam's apple. Many people identify this character as a feminine character. However, that's not how it's depicted here. It's more of an androgynous energy. I know that there's a lot of draw to the feminine archetype of the legal justice systems. However, that's only part of it. Sure, we have that very clear justice energy. Justice does have the scale of balance, and of course, that sword of truth and knowledge. So we do have that right from wrong justice energy. Now, I'm sorry, I put this in the wrong spot. We did jump the Wheel of Fortune. I will get to that. Whereas this is the 11th card in the Major Arcana, I jumped 10, which I will get back to. Justice is the 11th card in the Major Arcana, and it does talk about, of course, that black and white energy. Very much a similar energy to the Emperor and in the Fool's Journey, with Justice being in the 11th position. She's right underneath the Emperor. So, like I said, that switch, it flows better for me. Not only for the Strength card, but for the Justice card. Additionally, we have another pillar. That freedom and insight we will obtain when we start to balance out our lives. Past her curtain, or his curtain, we have that bright yellow, that abundance, that knowledge, that very lively energy that comes with the yellow color. Like I said earlier, yellow is really important. It's a color of intellect, and it's a color of warmth and joy. But first, we have to go through and understand the Justice card before we can step through that gate, that rite of passage. All right. I did miss, and I do apologize. I jumped it, the Wheel of Fortune. The 10th card in the Major Arcana. And the symbols in this card are off the charts. And yes, it all matters. But I'm not going to get into that, because this card probably is a 2 or 3 part series unto itself. Know that the Wheel of Fortune, just like any wheel, needs to slowly and steadily continue to move forward. It needs that progression. If there are certain symbols that connect with you, I want you to, think about it. This really weird red character, that's Anubis. He's the god of the underworld. Got the snake, an angel, can be considered a phoenix or an eagle. Of course, we have that griffin, and then we have a bull with wings. And then at the top, we have a sphinx. Those are the main symbols. This wheel, like I said, I don't want to bog you down with too much. Just know that those are important symbols. The Wheel of Fortune, though, just like anything else, talks about the change and evolution that we go throughout our lifetime and throughout our day. I know I oversimplified that card, but we kind of need it. Because like I said, that one in itself, it's going to be a multi-parter. The Hanged Man, the 12th card in the Major Arcana. He is a fantastic card. He's the let it go guy. He has that angelic or high vibrational connection. Now, Pamela Coleman Smith was drawing on those Renaissance paintings because anyone that had that halo had that connection to God and to the angels. Well, I won't lie, that oversimplifies it, but that connection and allowing those high vibrational beings to support and guide us is an important energy in this card. Now, he's obviously strung up in a T formation. He's not too worried about it. Another part to this card, I know he's the let it go guy, talks about not knowing what's going on behind someone's back. He may be untying his hands and will free himself soon. He may have something concealed behind his back. When we use our skills and our abilities, what people see may not be what's going on. the Hanged Man is more complex than he looks, as he is strung up on the tree of life. So, what brought him to this point? Well, that doesn't matter. Knowing he has that connection and trust in himself. Those are important elements in this card. And another super iconic card, Death, the 13th card in the Major Arcana. Now, we all know that death does not mean that you're going to die. Rather, aspects are going to be released, if you will. This is a transition card. Think of it as having a cup within us, and we can only hold so much. Death is here to get to the bottom of that gunky buildup and start to remove it. The most important aspect is, in this card, because there's a lot going on, we have a king who has died, a maiden, and a little child trying to give death a flower, and then kind of a pope here trying to grovel to death. It doesn't matter who you are, we all need that transition. When we do, when we embrace that transition, when we embrace death's hand, that sun is going to rise and support us for new beginnings. Now, the Death card has another supporter or connection, the Moon. Both are pillar cards. His pillars are just harder to get to. Same pillars. It's hard to see here, but there is a path leading to this. Same path. Same water that's here. Because again, hard to see, but there is water back there, which is the river Styx, which makes this the river Styx. So there is, like I said, a lot of interconnections. So, death, and we'll get back to the Moon card, try and put them in the right order this time. Death talks about that change, that transition that we all need. Temperance. Such a fantastic card. Now, there is some kind of uncertainty as to who this depicts. However, like me, many of us believe that this is a depiction of the goddess Iris. There are little irises beside this kind of gender neutral, androgynous, if you will, angel. Yet talks about that energy and balance. Like I said, Pamela Coleman Smith didn't do things just to do them. She did them intentionally. To me, it makes more sense that we do have the goddess Iris. Now, the goddess Iris did not, in lore, have wings. However, she has that connection. It's not yellow, but she has that halo that depicts that connection to the high vibration. Angels are messengers from the god, the goddess, the universal energy. So to me, it makes more sense that we have Iris here. We're looking at a card of balance and energy flow on top of those messages. So she's balancing, she's got one foot in the water, and in tarot and oracle cards, water always depicts that spiritual element, and one foot on the land, which again always depicts that physical aspect. She's balancing both out. Now, she is flowing or pouring water from one cup to another. Important note here, it's not top to bottom, rather it's bottom to top. Talking about that energy flow, talking about defying that logic. Like I said, these cards are hugely vast in their meaning and have so many different symbols hidden within them. And Temperance, she doesn't hold back. The Devil. Oh, how we love to hate the Devil. Of course, we have very much Pamela Coleman Smith and Arthur Waite poking fun at the Catholic Christian devil. They were not Christian or Catholic. They were very much into the occult and would not have seen this devilly creature as an external source of doom and gloom, if you will. It's that internal source, those pieces that are holding you back. Now, of course, the devil is connected very, very much with the Lovers. We're looking at that same energy of masculine and femininity, and of course, they're different vices. We've got depiction of that fruit, so that fertility, and also it goes back to that tree of knowledge, whereas the man is standing behind the tree of life. Again, we have that fruit bearing and that flame bearing. Very indicative of both aspects. Not to say that that's how we want to see it, as the woman bears knowledge and the man bears that tree of life. Not that they're always indicative of each other, it's just how they were drawn. And I didn't mention this in the Lovers, but I absolutely love it. He is looking at her, she's looking at Archangel Raphael, talking about that focus, where a lot of men get focused in on that physicality, that sexuality, and many women are connected into that spirituality, that greater pursuit. Not always. That, of course, is a generalization, but I always found it interesting because it's carried forward in the devil. He's looking at her and she's looking off into the distance. She's looking at the reader or the viewer, as is the devil. Whereas her gaze is more kind of a blank, going, oh my God, I don't know about this. He's more challenging. And that does talk about that ego challenging you. This is more passive, this is more aggressive. So there are a lot of symbols hidden upon symbols in these cards. And of course we have one of the very few cards, well, there's a couple of them I guess, because the next one's the same, that have that black background. Even death has a gray background. But many of them, you can start to see that pattern of yellow, because yellow is knowledge. And of course, following the devil, crashing through the tower. However, when you look at the devil, this is solid black, talking about that obscurity, those shadows within. Whereas when you look at this, and I'm hoping it'll pick up, there's texture, lightning that comes forward in the background of the tower. The 16th card in the Major Arcana. And we're looking at those life-changing, shattering, kick you in the butt activities that occur. Now, back in the numerology or the number tool video that I did, I spoke about these little wibbly bits. They're called nodes. They are gifts from the universe. They're knowledge, insight, and aha. 3 out of the 4 aces have them. Well, you're seeing them come back in the tower. That knowledge, that aha is there, no matter how much pain this shakeup causes. Should you choose to be observant and learn from this experience and break patterns that are going to minimize and reduce the universe's need to step in, because we're breaking patterns and we're moving forward for our greater good. And yes, we have control over the tower, because when we're moving forward for our greater good, it doesn't have to shake us up like this. So the tower, we're looking at those changes, looking at that information that we need. This is a very hard card, and there's 3 of them. They're kind of the bad boys of tarot. These are the 3 cards that people struggle with the most. However, they give us the most knowledge about self and our situation, and death helps us out of it. The Star. When you wish upon a star. Of course, we are looking at our hopes and dreams, but it's more than that. Again, we have that balance. This position that the maiden is in is incredibly challenging. She's kneeling on the earth and having her foot hover on the water. Very challenging, yet she does it with great ease. Additionally, she is pouring energy onto the water, so her spirituality, and onto land, her physical self. So not only is she able to hold a hard balancing position with great grace and ease, she is also feeding herself in many ways, allowing herself to grow and to flourish. Of course, while keeping her eye very focused in on that path ahead. It's a fantastic card. It's one of my favorite cards because there is such a complexity. Stars followed by the moon. Of course, we have the 17th card in the Major Arcana. We have that connection to death as we have another gatekeeper, and we have those nodes back. That wisdom, that guidance, should we take it. There is a lot of mystery and unknown about the moon. We're taught at a very young age that everything scary starts to crawl out of the darkness at night. We also have connection, of course, to the High Priestess, that lunar energy. That insight and guidance is there. She too has that pillar, that gatekeeper. The moon also talks about our wild side and our domesticated side. Another balance that we're trying to juggle within ourselves. This is a depiction of a wolf, and this is a depiction of a dog. Now we have this kind of weird crustacean coming out of the water. It's a symbol of our consciousness coming out of our unconscious. So becoming aware of things. It also illustrates and highlights that fear. Because like I said, we're taught at a young age that creepy crawly comes out at night. Again, the moon is... I absolutely adore the moon. Followed by, of course, the sun. This is the one card that when people get it in readings, they all go, oh, thank God. Because it does not matter what way this card comes up, whether it's reversed or forward, you have that joy, that happiness, and that abundance. Now, not to mention, should you have the sun come up in a reading of multiple cards, no matter what card you get, should you get the bad boys with it, it lightens and brightens them up. It warms that darkness, no matter what card it is. The power of the sun, of course, is, well, unparalleled. So that sun no matter what's going on. Talks about that happiness, that joy, that freedom that only comes with embracing that love and light. Judgment. Kind of a creepy card, I won't lie, but very important. So, of course, we have a depiction of Archangel Gabriel, the Archangel of Messengers. And we have her playing her horn, calling out to humanity, sending her message, the song of the universe. And we have, for some reason, boats of dead people. These are dead people. That's where the creepy part gets in. Talking about that need to connect in to this message before it's too late. Because upon death, we get that big eureka, that amazing aha. We understand what it is we missed and what we're going to need to redo in our next lifetime. So, Gabriel's encouraging you to take that crossroads right now. And that's what this symbol here means. We have that crossroads, that choice. Like I said, I know it's creepy, but important. Of course, there's a lot more to that card, but that's the general meaning to the Judgment card, is hearing that message, that wisdom and insight that Gabriel and the other high vibrational beings want to share with you. And finally, the world. Oh, the connections the world has. I'm going to again minimize the world because it too has probably a number of videos coming through because of the amount of symbolism. Of course, the card that most people recognize that it would be connected to is the Wheel of Fortune. We have the same symbols in the same four corners in the world. So those two are connected, and like I said, I'm gonna have to do a whole series on them. It's also connected to these two cards. Exact same wand multiplied by 2, talking about that duality. Again, having the power at hand and using it to your advantage. That balance. We need that balance to make the world go round. And of course, the world itself talks about the endings and the beginnings. We have the 0, connecting her back into the Fool. Now, it's even one step more connection. She is dancing. He is walking. When you look at all these cards, even death, he's not moving. His horse is like trying to push over the Pope. None of these cards, even the Chariot, is in motion, other than these two cards. The Fool, which is always about endings and beginnings, and the Dancer or the World, which again is about endings and beginnings. So she is connected to many cards, including the Hanged Man. They both have that leg cross, if you will, which also connects in to her with that crossroads. Like I said, Pamela Coleman Smith did not just draw to draw. There is importance and significance with everything. So the Dancer, we have that ending, that beginning. Like I said, I know I oversimplified a lot of these. Like I said, I wanted to just introduce you. We're not going to get in depth. Eventually, I will probably go in depth into each card. However, that can be really overwhelming. I do want to highlight different things like these multiple crossovers and connections because they're important. Moreoverly, I want to give you the tools that you need to be able to use these cards to your advantage. And these tools, it doesn't mean going in depth and talking about every symbol. It means talking about certain symbols and their meaning and relevance, their colors, their numbers. So it doesn't matter whether or not you understand that symbol entirely, you get the energies, so you're able to understand some of those meanings, some of that significance. Tarot is a skill, and there's so many complexities within these skills. So let's take it slow and steady, my friends. This is an amazing journey, and I am so excited to take it with you. I will continue to explore these different nuances as time goes forward. The most important aspect, though, is working with your cards and becoming acquainted with these different symbols that are right there, hidden in plain sight. I want to thank you guys so very much for joining me today and watching this video. I hope that you found it fun and insightful, and that you were able to gain another tool to help you along your journey. If you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. There is so much more coming your way, my friends. I've got lots of learning, healing, and of course, that insight. The best way to stay connected so you don't miss out on any of this amazing, insight and healing is to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a video. And if you want to, I do have a Patreon page. So if you want to support me in making these amazing videos, you can do so. I've left a link below, so why not go check it out? Until tomorrow, my friends.